All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Fear the Walking Dead video for today, leading up to the 10th episode for Fear the Walking Dead Season 5. In this one, we're going to give our thoughts on whether or not we think Fear could potentially get a Season 7. Alright dudes, so if you have not seen the mid-season premiere yet for the second half of Fear the Walking Dead Season 5, I've seen a lot of your guys' comments now at this point. Sort of spoiler warning for it if you haven't seen it, but it's you're not missing much if you haven't seen it. I'll sum up the whole episode for you in about 30 seconds. I did a full review for it before, 15 minutes long, so you can watch that if you want to. But basically, here's episode 9, the mid-season premiere. They have some fun with some found footage style recording. Morgan steps on a landmine. It doesn't go off. They're able to pin it, and then it goes off later. And then Logan comes in at the end with a new character in somewhat of a villainess type of silly 80s comedy type of scene. So I thought this was a good one to start this week off with for our Q&As for Fear. And I don't know how many videos in the future I'm going to make for Fear. I'm not sure, how much it warrants, a whole bunch. Maybe I'll try to make more videos for the original Walking Dead series, even though it's still a couple months away. It seems like that's what most people are kind of most interested in right now in the way of Walking Dead. Fear still being on, but, it not having, that big of a fan base as it did earlier on in the show, and kind of most of the fan base, from what I saw in comments, thinking that episode 9 was just really boring, which, it wasn't the most exciting episode ever, that's for sure. And also the trailer and them kind of releasing the clips ahead of time of the mines and stuff like that took away from some of the comedy of the episode. So it wasn't a big deal type episode. It's one you could just watch, whatever. But I'm kind of thinking this half of Fear the Walking Dead Season 5 might be a lot like the second half of Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, which is kind of like, it sort of feels like to me, with the new showrunners, they kind of started off Season 4 in the first half really strong, and then the second half was like, it was okay. And for Season 5, I feel like, in some ways, at least for me, I felt like it started off pretty strong with a cool premise with Dwight crossing over, and the premise of the nuclear power plant exploding and the different stuff that was going on. So I felt like it started off pretty good. Not everybody agrees for Season 5 of Fear. And now that we're getting into the second half, almost right away, it's kind of like, blah. It's kind of like, yeah, it's okay. But, there's, I don't know. It's just all right. So a lot of people saying it was boring. Beyond All said episode 9, the mid-season premiere, was a bore fest. Rap Quebecois said, I'm kind of tired of hearing, quote, it's something they've never done before. It's not because you never did it that it will be good, but whatever. I just don't understand how they did so good in Season 3, but we're absolutely awful the next 2 seasons. So a lot of people, it's kind of the consistent sort of regular type of stuff that I read a lot for Fear. It's kind of like people love Season 3. They love that kind of early style for Fear. They did the crossover with Morgan. It wasn't, what people expected. At first it was exciting, and then they started killing off the old school Fear characters, as they had been doing very quickly anyway. Continuing with that. And this season right here, we're kind of not sure where the future of Fear, kind of is. But he does have a point that just because you haven't done a nuclear power plant melting down, you haven't done a plane yet, you haven't done found footage yet, doesn't necessarily mean you should do all of these things. Just because they haven't been done in a TV series before. But, I do think that when they do new stuff, it's probably a good idea. The last thing you want is for us to feel like we've seen everything you're doing before. Granted, Fear has some very unique characters. Morgan is a unique character that in The Walking Dead now, you don't have him there, so that's one unique character. Dwight is another. Alicia definitely is probably the most unique character they have because she started off the series and she's still alive. Strand is also unique. There's nobody like Strand in the original Walking Dead. So Fear does have some good unique characters that don't have a counterpart in the original Walking Dead series either anymore or never really did. The Walking Dead original series never really had a Strand or some of the others, Alicia, or, some of the other ones they have. Some of them are pretty unique here. So, not the greatest episode to start off the back half of the season with, but it's okay. It did have some kind of comedy and some kind of fun things in it, so I don't want to make it sound like it was the worst episode ever or anything. It wasn't. It's just that for a mid-season premiere, it wasn't anything spectacular either. So now that we got that out of the way, watch the full review if you haven't seen it yet, if you want to hear all my thoughts and everything in the episode, detail by detail, including the final scene with Logan and everything, and the villains and the way Fear does villains. So the big question for this one, we know Fear the Walking Dead has been renewed for Season 6, so we know that. the question of this one is, how much longer do we think they're going to get out of Fear? How long do we think they're going to continue it for? Will it get a season 7? That's the biggest question right now. And I think a lot of it depends on, what they do with some of the important characters that they have right now. You kind of need Morgan in there. You kind of need Alicia in there. You kind of need probably Dwight in there as well, too, and some of the others as well, too. So they can have some character deaths and they can kill some off, but in the next, season 6 and then the rest of season 5 second half. But as long as they don't kill off any of those, I think we're probably okay, and it'll probably continue. But I just don't know how much of a demand there is when they add on this third series next year during season 6's air year. So you'll have the original Walking Dead airing, you'll have Fear airing, and you'll have the third series airing as well, too. That's going to add on another, section there for Walking Dead that we weren't used to having with the additional series on there, too. And I can see it kind of taking away from Fear a little bit because now you're adding on even more, which might subtract a little bit from Fear more than it would because it's, you have the 3 series on instead of just the 2. And, even 2 is a lot, and now you're adding on a third, so you're taking away a bit. But it seems to me, I've expected Fear to sort of be canceled for maybe a little while here, and it's actually lasted longer than I thought that it probably would based on the feedback and based on what we were seeing. But it seems to me, you can argue both points in this both ways. That you can think, okay, it'll probably get canceled in season 7, and then they'll cross Morgan and the others back over into the original Walking Dead series. And I think that's a good prediction to say, okay, it probably will get canceled and they'll go this way after season 6, and then they'll bring Morgan and the others into the original Walking Dead series. But we also have to keep in mind, AMC seems absolutely hell-bent on keeping The Walking Dead both going as long as it can and adding on even more Walking Dead stuff rather than reducing. And so if you end Fear to cross the characters back over the original Walking Dead, it'd probably make the original Walking Dead better because you can add those characters in and kind of use them, and it'd be cool to have Morgan back on the original Walking Dead, maybe Dwight, and some of the others, some of the Fear characters would be cool too. But if they do that, then they have to close down Fear the Walking Dead, around that time. So I almost want to say now at this point, after AMC's recent kind of, information that they gave us about the third series, that they're just trying to add on, even more than what they had, even though Talking Dead is not on anymore after Fear the Walking Dead like it used to be, or it's not on every episode. It's on for the finales and maybe the premieres, but not every week like it used to be. It's tricky to say. You guys can leave your comments below. Do you think Fear the Walking Dead will get a season 7, or do you think that it's probably going to get canceled and they'll combine the characters back? It just seems like AMC is so hell-bent on keeping, as much Walking Dead content on as they possibly can that, would it be shocking for you guys if Fear the Walking Dead somehow got to a season 10? I personally would be absolutely, just shocked. I'm kind of shocked that it's getting a season 6. A season 7, I guess they probably will too, and it's like, wow. But I just don't know what that's going to look like at that time, and, who's going to still be alive from the surviving characters right now when we get around to that in a couple years from now. So I guess right now, after the recent interview that they kind of did with one of was it the programming president or somebody who said that they were just, there was even more room for more Walking Dead series too. It's like, what? Even more room. So, it's crazy to think, but Fear the Walking Dead might actually get a 7th season, as crazy as it is. But it really depends on who they decide to kill off here soon, and in the next year or two, and how that goes. And then also depends on how people are going to respond once they add on that additional Walking Dead series. Then people might like that more than Fear, and they might watch that instead, or something like that. So leave your comments below. Let me know what you guys think after the mid-season premiere. Could Fear actually get a 7th season, and could you see it going on even further? It just seems like AMC is so hell-bent to keep all these series going and even add on more that, maybe I should be surprised that it does get a season 7, Maybe we all shouldn't, because it's like, that's what they're saying, so so let's see. Let's see if that's true, man. Miki Cham says, I will watch anything in the Walking Dead universe, and I was a huge fan of Z Nation as well, but this was one of the slowest moving, most boring episodes I've seen across the board. I kept waiting for something to happen, but nope. Complete waste of such awesome characters. Whoever wrote this episode should be fired. So I don't know if it was necessarily who wrote it, that it was that's so bad or somebody should get fired over it. I don't think it's that bad that someone should get fired, but I would say that just kind of the way the episode played out, the way they did the found footage, the way that the villains in Fear, man, that's another thing if they want to get, a 7th or 8th season. They, at least in my opinion anyway, the way I think of it, they have to bring in some good villains, like a villain community with some, developed characters and a good strong lead villain. They just have to bring in something, for Fear, I think, on the villain side, because they keep kind of doing the adventure kind of thing where they're running into these mini villains, and then they have not had like a seasoned villain yet, like a governor or someone like that that's a whole season or a season and a half, like a Woodbury or a Saviors or Negan or something like that. Even though Negan didn't do that well in the original Walking Dead TV series, but Hunters, someone like that could be a really good villain for longer. That's really going to put the Fear back in Fear, which it's supposed to be to begin with, right? Yeah, Moonchild Crabby says, I would love to see Morgan and Dwight's reaction to Abraham and Eugene's taped interview. That would be cool. And AMC has been kind of releasing some different Althea tapes with interviews with different people in their Walking Dead channel where they just kind of post, like, I don't know, different characters that maybe they'll use later or something in the TV series. So, I would love to see like an Abraham and Eugene type of tape that maybe Althea has from before, but maybe at this point it's too far gone, it's too long forward. That was kind of a popular theory last year in season 4 based on the names of the tapes and that, and since the geographical location is pretty close for Abraham, I think, because did they say originally he was from Texas? Because we all thought when they announced the crossover that it was going to be Abraham and kind of a past thing, and it ended up to be Morgan, which I'm not disappointed about. I'm glad that Morgan and Dwight have lived and have come into Fear rather than just being killed off in the original Walking Dead series. So that's a good thing too. But we'll have to see in the future how it kind of plays out and how many more seasons Morgan wants to do. This will be his second year as sort of the lead for Fear. If he does a couple more, maybe after 3 or 4, maybe he'll have enough. I don't know. We'll see. Seems like he kind of likes the work, right? He likes to have the, to be sort of the lead character in a series like that. Seems like Lenny James kind of likes that, and I'm a fan of it too because you don't have a lot of those season 1 survivors left at this point anyway. Dustin Noakes says, I think I'm just going to pretend that Fear ended with Madison and her kids living at the stadium happily ever after, and that this new stupid show I don't watch. So you can kind of think of it this way with The Walking Dead, right? The thing is The Walking Dead TV series universe, the shows are going to go on so long, right? Because AMC just wants to continue, which I'm happy they're going to continue with Walking Dead. They haven't ended it yet, and they've got more stuff for us, and it's better than nothing. To have something to watch is better than nothing. Otherwise, I don't know what else I would watch, maybe Netflix series or whatever. But, I'm glad they're continuing with them because I do love The Walking Dead. But what's going to happen is the series are going to go on so long that you're going to have to kind of find endpoints of your own for sort of the certain types of arcs or characters that you like. So even though the series is going to continue, like the original Walking Dead, Rick's never going to come back to the original Walking Dead TV series. From now on, it's going to be, it seems like Daryl's show, even if Norman Reedus doesn't like that idea, and he kind of is sort of rejecting of that concept that it's Daryl's show now, but it kind of is. It's probably going to be, especially once Michonne leaves, it's going to be like, yeah, it's Daryl's show now. It is what it is, and you can kind of think of the original series like from season 1, probably the finale episode for the first part is Rick's last episode. They even have the line in there, it feels like it's ending. That's sort of like the end for the original Walking Dead series part. Past that, it's sort of Kang era Daryl. It's Daryl's sort of show past that, and you're switching out those main lead kind of stars. He was always there before, but now he's at the forefront, and Michonne leaves, so you're going to have even more time for him and the others, and it's not Rick's show anymore. Rick is gone. The Grimes family is basically gone. Just left is Judith, and she's Shane's anyways, as they said, so it's sort of like the original, Rick, Lori, Carl. It's over, right? So that's kind of the way you can think about it with the series. Fear the Walking Dead, same thing. You could kind of think of it as the original Fear sort of ended or was soft rebooted. You could see it like, you could say it ended after the 3rd season, and then it was slowly soft rebooted into the new one. And especially if they kill Alicia off by the end of the season, that's just going to be, exacerbated even further to where it's like what they did was they soft rebooted it. So they took those Fear characters, they merged them with Morgan, they brought Dwight in, and they slowly but surely moved away from that original group. So you can kind of look at it as the original Fear ended at the end of the 3rd season. Then it became Morgan and Friends or Morgan's show, and they slowly moved in that direction 100%. A lot of people would have preferred maybe if they had just ended the original series and retitled it to Morgan's Journey or something, and you did another spin-off series for Walking Dead separate, and you not include the both. But they had the 2 shows on. It just made sense to kind of do it that way, and it kind of slowly became a soft reboot. Or if you look at the first half of season 4, pretty quickly, Nick, Madison, and then we'll see how long Strand, Alicia, and Luciana survive on for going forward. Maybe I shouldn't even include Luciana in that because she only came in the second season anyway, and she wasn't even in the third season, was she? Almost at all. Pretty much not at all, right? So, there's that. But yeah, you're going to have to think of it like that. You're going to have to think of it in sections because they're going to go on so long for so many years that you got to think of it as like this is the ending for that group of characters that maybe you liked or that you were behind, whether it be in the original Walking Dead series or in Fear, and then the series continued on afterwards in some other kind of fashion with a different group. Sort of like you have the different, you have the different Star Treks, right? And each one sort of has its own thing, but they're all kind of in the same sort of type of universe. You can think of it kind of that way, I think. So yeah, that's not a bad thing to do. Torrid says, a bad sign, why teach Alicia the staff mantra? They won't have two people carrying staffs. And that's probably true. That I can't really see them having Morgan carrying the staff around and Alicia in the same show carrying the staff around. So unless she's using that and something else and she gets back to killing walkers again because she hasn't been doing that recently. D1111 says, tried for the third time to get in the show. It was so boring. So this was not the best episode to try to get someone into Fear, right? It's not the best episode to watch to get somebody hooked on Fear. I have to agree with that. Dustin Noakes says, the comedy in Fear the Walking Dead is just stupid. It's not Z Nation. That show was canceled for a reason. Fear the Walking Dead is trash now. It really sucks to watch such a good, simple storylines, show trash and ruined. I miss Madison and Nick in all seriousness, sadness, and fear of the show. Morgan ruins everything he comes in contact with. So some people, this is something a lot around. Some people get mad at me for including both positive and negative comments. I try to have a mix of both and represent the community in the videos to where, you get the positive side of things and what people are enjoying and they're loving. You get a lot of negative too. It just happens that the last couple of years, a lot of the stuff for Walking Dead has been, the fan base has been more negative on, which is representative of less people watching it than were before. So I try to kind of include both sides of things and not just be all negative or all positive at the same time. I try to be sort of what's fair or true to kind of how people are feeling. And, that's what I do, and that's what I do for the original Walking Dead series, as well as Fear, as well as Game of Thrones, as well as other series too. I try to find an honest, representation. So I'm not afraid to include negative comments, and I'm not afraid to include positive comments. It's just negativity sometimes, people remember that more in life and in entertainment than positivity, right? So, so it's... I'm happy that Morgan is there. I don't think any of this is really Lenny James's fault or Morgan's fault for anything they're doing. They have a new showrunning team there. Dave Erickson is not on Fear anymore. It would have been really cool to see if Dave Erickson could have continued. They would have done the crossover with him and his kind of style of things. Because he had a different style. He had more of a sort of a drama-based, maybe Sons of Anarchy, you could say, type of kind of like when the series starts off with Nick and he goes to the hospital and like a very genuine kind of family drama-based type of storytelling technique with his Fear, right? That was kind of the more way, and that was cool about Fear that I liked originally, which we don't get that anymore. But, it wasn't maybe as kind of exciting as all the action and the, beer blimps and stuff like this, which, probably is better for ratings to have a lot of action-heavy stuff. And maybe why Fear didn't, have enough of sticking at the beginning. But I kind of like that sort of it felt like a genuine family living in a zombie apocalypse, and it felt like they didn't really know what to do. They didn't really have all their stuff together. They had their emotions, and they had their stuff, and they all had their problems, and they all had their things. So it felt more like a drama series in a zombie apocalypse. And now it feels more like, okay, it's a zombie show. It's a zombie apocalypse show, right? So even though there's still some of that in there, but it felt like the earlier Fear had more of a human drama-based feel to it, and not as much of the action-y stuff. Even though Season 3 did have a lot of action, but it had a lot of kind of family dynamics and relationship issues and things in it as well too. Jada V.S. Williamson said, "I hope Heath will be will be Alicia's new love interest in the Walking Dead Rick Grimes movie." So, I don't know if they would cross her over into the Rick movies. we'll see. You know, I think that'd be cool if they did do something like that. The two staff thing is a good point in that, where if you have two characters using the same weapon and they're very similar to each other, like Dwight and Daryl, then you maybe split them up. You have one go, you know, if you have Dwight leave because Daryl's going to be the lead, and then he goes in the other show or something. So we'll see if there's any other crossovers they do, possibly from Fear to one of the other Walking Dead properties. I do think that could be cool to see it go the other way around at some point and have one of the Fear characters maybe leave to go back to Walking Dead or go to the movies or something. But for a love interest for Alicia, I was thinking maybe they were going to use Dwight for that. So eventually Dwight doesn't find Sherry, or him and Sherry don't get back together, and then they do like a couple between Dwight and Alicia. But we'll see if maybe that happens. Again, we don't know who's going to survive long enough to even see if they could even do something like that. So we'll see. But I think that could be a cool idea. And let me know what you guys think about that one too, or what they would do with that if at all. So they got to do something with Dwight. You know, he crossed over. He's there. But aside from him looking for Sherry, they haven't done a whole lot with him. They got to do something with him soon. We got to see that. So let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments below. Will Fear the Walking Dead get a season 7? Is it just on borrowed time already? And Trev eventually, you know, it's just not working, and eventually they're going to have to close it off, and it'll probably be like the last season in season 7 or something, and then they'll cross back over. Let me know what you guys think. Do your predictions below, and how are you feeling about Fear the Walking Dead right now? Thumb up the video below, share favorite, and subscribe at the bottom left if you're new. That's it for this one. See you guys again soon for another video. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace later, guys. See you soon.